can be a force for good
I hate them all.
and evil.
For some people, love can be as powerful as a narcotic.
An affair at work turns toxic.
She felt the only way out was to murder her husband.
The internet becomes a murder weapon.
He was just used as a pawn in her game.
And a schoolgirl crush sparks a family massacre.
There's gonna be some burning in hell after this.
These are deadly women, breaking hearts and destroying lives, all in the name of forbidden love. Frustrated desire can drive a woman to ruin lives. For Wayne Chopik, it brings back the most terrible memories.
I'm gonna look straight into the camera. If JR ever watches this, she needs to come back to this community and she needs to face what she did.
In 2006, the town of Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. On a quiet suburban street, a 6-year-old comes looking for his best friend. But there will be no play today.
It was a bloodbath in that basement.
You can watch as many horror flicks as you ever wanted to, and it could never even compare to what happened in that house.
A husband and wife lie dead, their bodies covered in stab wounds.
The police didn't know what to make of this scene when they arrived. Was it a murder-suicide, a domestic situation? They had no idea.
Upstairs, their son, just 8 years old, is also dead.
Blood coated every surface of that room, all his little toys, his bed sheets, everything. The scene was so horrible that the officers were absolutely traumatized. Years later, testifying in court, they broke down on the stand, remembering that little boy dead in his bed.
But that little boy has a sister.
One of the officers noticed a family portrait sitting on a side table. When he took a look at it, there were 4 people, so there was a girl missing.
Police think the 12-year-old daughter has been kidnapped by the killer. No one can guess the truth, because the truth is unbelievable. Crime reporter Sheree arrives in Medicine Hat to find a town reeling.
It was like a bomb had gone off. They were so shattered. It's a quiet, middle-class kind of town, very family-oriented.
The family that we lost that day was a family that was a very tight family, a very loving family. They deserved to live life. They did not deserve to meet their maker.
Just hours after the murders, police searched the missing girl's school locker. Inside, a drawing that chills the blood.
It was a stick drawing, but it was very dark, and it was basically a stick figure lighting a family on fire and running off to her boyfriend's truck. She went from missing person or kidnap victim to murder suspect immediately.
It's incomprehensible. Could a 12-year-old schoolgirl really be responsible for slaying her own family?
Oh my goodness, go back, go back. Oh.
JR was a typical ordinary Catholic schoolgirl. Teachers said she was quite a diligent worker and by all accounts, just a very typical, unassuming girl.
Until she discovers a dark side.
She started becoming interested in the goth movement. I think she was really drawn to their darkness, the artistic nature of their makeup and their dress. While her friends were obeying the Catholic school dress code, she was more interested in chains and shorter skirts and fishnet stockings, what she'd seen other kids at the mall wearing.
So disappointed. You know you're not supposed to wear that at school.
But this is more than fashion.
Waist. What is that around your waist? It's a belt. Well, you know
JR is acting strangely. The sweet little girl has fallen in love with every parent's worst nightmare.
He was from the other side of the tracks, and he was an unemployed high school dropout who was living in a trailer park.
It's a match made in hell. At 23, he's nearly twice her age. Abusing drugs. Totally immersed in the macabre Gothic subculture.
He even went so far as to tell his friends he believed he was a 300-year-old werewolf and that he carried a vial of blood around his neck.
JR looks and acts older than her 12 years.
One of the most disturbing aspects of their relationship was that it was a sexual relationship.
Driven by forbidden love, JR completes a Gothic transformation.
People were afraid of JR, even her friends. And she liked that. She liked the idea of frightening people. It made her feel powerful.
Criminal profiler Candace DeLong thinks JR's fixation went well past makeup.
The goth culture represented something to her. It fed into a deep, deep need. A need to be different, a need to be frightening, a need to control other people.
At the center of this dark world is her boyfriend.
Where the hell have you been?
none of your business.
It is my business.
Darling, we were really worried.
The relationship was secret for a very long time, but once it was revealed to her parents, it drove an even bigger wedge between them. Basically, it started a war within the house.
It's a war that will claim 3 innocent lives. In Medicine Hat, Canada, A young girl is out of control.
I hate my family.
Obsessed with the dark goth subculture, the 12-year-old is having a forbidden love affair with a man twice her age.
He's the last person you'd want your child to date. You would go straight to the cops. You would put your kid in lockdown. You would do everything you could, everything in your power to separate him from your child.
When JR's parents intervene, her affair and her anger move online.
JR's message said, I hate them, so I have this plan. It begins with me killing them, and it ends with me living with you.
JR found in her boyfriend a man, an adult, in her eyes, that she could control. He found in her someone that looked up to him, and the combination was toxic.
I hate them all.
What's wrong?
His favorite movie was Natural Born Killers.
Swear to God, I'm gonna do something bad.
The scenario within that movie's opening moments is a young man murdering his girlfriend's parents to give her freedom.
You know, go there with a knife and just kill him, you know? Just stab them.
He began to equate that with the task that JR was ordering him to do.
In the dead of night, JR's mother hears a noise in the basement.
Imagine getting to the bottom of the stairs and being faced with a nightmare dressed all in black and carrying a great big knife.
This suburban mom doesn't stand a chance.
Her friends described her as a lioness, but there's no way she was any kind of match for a man wielding a knife and high as a kite, ready to kill.
JR's father launches his own attack. But he's doomed from the first knife blow.
One of the real problems with the sympathetic response to stabbing is that with the increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, you're going to bleed more rapidly. So you're going to weaken very quickly.
I think what is the most haunting is that prolonged fight between the boyfriend and the father. That father was a bear protecting his family.
Upstairs,
Go to bed.
JR holds her terrified brother.
Cover your ears. Don't listen.
When her boyfriend appears, she knows her wish has been granted. Her parents are dead. They are free to be together. But there's no place in their new world for an 8-year-old boy.
It's a crime too horrible to even imagine. He died for nothing. They basically reasoned that he had to go too because he was too sensitive and it would be wrong to leave him without parents. I mean, it's unthinkable.
the young couple's freedom doesn't last long. Within 24 hours, they are under arrest.
They weren't displaying any outward signs of grief or trauma of what had happened. In fact, the boyfriend was showing off his eye that had been injured in the fight with JR's father.
The deepest devotion of two parents was no match for the frightening power of forbidden love.
They had loved and cared for their daughter to the nth degree. There's gonna be some burning in hell after this.
JR's boyfriend is now serving a life sentence for murder. Under Canadian law, JR's true identity can't be revealed. Found guilty of 3 counts of murder, she receives the maximum juvenile sentence, 10 years.
People were outraged by that sentence, but that is the way Canadian law is set up. It's set up to rehabilitate young people, not so much to punish them.
In 2016, at age 22, JR will be released back into the community.
I think any child who kills their parents when there is no evidence of abuse from parent to child should be locked up forever. There really is no hope.
Kansas City, February 2000. Former homicide detective Jerry Cassidy prepares to die. Consumed by shame, he can't go on living with what he did in the name of forbidden love. His briefcase holds the key to a baffling death. The world's first internet murder.
This case had everything. It had murder, it had sex, it had the internet, intrigue, deception, lies, everything wrapped into one.
I've never seen anything quite like this, where somebody manipulated another person through the series of communications and it resulted in such a heinous crime.
Reno, Nevada. A few months earlier, Jerry Cassidy is enjoying a wild weekend with a wild woman he met online.
Sheree Miller represented that she was a wealthy businesswoman from Flint and that she was in the auto parts business.
27-year-old Sheree Miller is gorgeous. The fact she's married only adds to the excitement.
Sheree told Jerry that her husband was involved in the mafia.
Whoa.
And she couldn't leave him because she knew too much, and he wouldn't let her leave.
To winning.
Lonely Jerry doesn't care. He's been down on his luck too long.
He lost his job in law enforcement, which he loved, and went through a divorce and never seemed right after that.
Sheree goes home to Michigan. But their forbidden love continues to flourish online.
Sheree and Jerry launched into a series of emails and internet discussions, probably thousands over the course of a few months.
Jerry and Sheree's online relationship developed as quickly as a relationship would have had they been sitting across from each other chatting.
They basically fell in love over the internet.
As Jerry Cassidy falls under Sheree Miller's power, she begins a campaign to control him.
He was manipulated. He had no idea that most of the content of these emails were lies.
Sheree pretends that she's pregnant with twins. And he is the father. Jerry falls into her trap.
He was ecstatic. He wanted nothing but to spend the rest of his life with Sheree.
It's all a lie. But the biggest lie is yet to come. One email designed to drive Jerry over the edge and make him a murderer. In the anonymous world of the internet, lies are easy to tell. Sheree Miller is carefully conning her online lover, Jerry Cassidy.
She was just somebody who was trying to be like a puppeteer and move the pieces along to her satisfaction.
Sheree was able to control Jerry because he wanted to be controlled. She found in him a dupe.
Sheree tells Jerry her husband Bruce is a violent gangster.
None of this was true. He was a nice guy, easy to do business with, and in no way would he do any of the things that Sheree Miller was suggesting that he would do.
But Jerry wants to believe. He already thinks Sheree is pregnant with twins. She hopes her next lie will turn him into a killer.
The turning point in all this was when she said that her husband had beaten her specifically so that the twin babies would be killed.
A faked photo is all the proof Jerry needs.
Sheree.
That's when he decided he was coming to Flint to take care of business.
I'm coming there, Sheree. I'm coming there, goddammit!
Chatting online, Sheree and Jerry plot every detail of her husband's murder.
She used sex and the internet to manipulate Jerry Cassidy in a way that infuriated him enough that he became from a good citizen, a former police officer, to he became a killer.
The plan was for Jerry to walk in, say, "Hi, I'm Jerry."
He did want to look in the eyes of the person that he believed harmed his own children and harmed the love of his life.
She told him where he carried his money and to take the money so it looks like a robbery.
That's exactly how it came down.
Whoa, 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 what's going on here? You know who I am.
The police were baffled at first. They thought it was a robbery gone bad. And the case went unsolved for quite some time. Sheree was never really a suspect in the murder.
When it all dies down, Jerry thinks his new life is about to begin. But Sheree has already moved on.
He came back to Flint, Michigan, right to Sheree Miller's house, and at that point had found that Sheree Miller had already moved in her new boyfriend.
The terrible truth dawns on Jerry. He's been tricked into murdering an innocent man.
He actually had killed for what he thought was the love of his life. He was just used as a pawn in her game to kill Bruce and not have any ties back to her.
The former detective's final act is to take revenge on the woman that destroyed his life.
In the briefcase was a 8-page instant message printout that detailed how Jerry had driven to Flint and killed Bruce Miller.
Sheree's beloved computer lands her in a murder trial.
Her testimony was nothing but one lie after another, but she was caught in every single lie because we were able to produce for her all the emails, all the chat room conversations, all of the instant messaging that she had done.
Convicted of conspiracy to commit murder, Sheree Miller is sentenced to life.
Everyone that knew Sheree was not surprised that she was able to manipulate someone to do this for her.
There will always be a Jerry for every Sheree that's out there.
La Jolla, San Diego, November 2000.
Hey, I'm home.
24-year-old Kristin Rossum discovers an eerie recreation from her favorite film, American Beauty.
Greg?
Husband Greg is sprawled on the bed.
Greg.
Rose petals strewn all over his body with a wedding picture of the two of them dramatically displayed.
Greg!
She went to the bed and found him cold and not breathing, so she called 911.
It looks like suicide, but they've only been married a few months. The perfect couple,
My husband's not breathing.
with the brightest of futures.
Okay, what do I do? Okay, bump his chest.
Why would he take his own life?
According to Kristin, she told Greg that she was planning to leave him.
Greg was distraught about their relationship, about the impending end of their relationship, and he had overdosed. The authorities were going to buy off on this idea that Greg had just taken drugs that ultimately killed him.
But this bed of roses hides a darker story.
Brilliant, beautiful, young woman, but obviously with a troubled and perhaps evil side to her.
Researching Kristin Rossum's history, journalist Caitlin Rother finds a girl driven to succeed.
She was a former ballerina, former child model. She grew up as a perfectionist, the daughter of 2 academics. And she was raised with the pressure to perform.
She does perform, landing a high-flying job as a toxicologist.
Kristin was working with the San Diego County Office of the Medical Examiner, dealing with chemicals in the body that could be the cause of death.
But to prosecuting attorney John Gomez, she's the worst person for the job.
Kristin Rossum had a lot going for her, but the one thing really working against her was her addiction to methamphetamine.
Kristin was 16, and she started using methamphetamine when a friend introduced it to her. And she just felt this euphoria, and she wanted to use it again.
Can you clean your room? Can you clean your room? No.
People can be addicted after even one dose because it causes a rush of euphoria.
Yourself. I might just do that.
It starts a whole cascade of events in the central nervous system that makes you feel absolutely wonderful.
Once addicted, users are on a deadly downward slide.
Over time, with a methamphetamine addict, the same dose will become less effective. The brain, which has now become dependent on this, becomes very depressed when we don't get it. So it's an absolutely incredible and very dangerous drug.
Growing up, Kristin has trouble shaking her addiction. But a new boyfriend brings new hope.
Greg DeVillers was a nice boy from a nice family, the son of a doctor. It was love at first sight, at least for him. Kristin did have some doubts about getting married to Greg. She spoke with her parents, and they thought, well, he was so good for her. They thought he was her saving angel because he helped her get off meth. So they were encouraging her, and so she went ahead with it.
Do the whole thing. Hello.
Only months after the wedding vows, Kristin is surrounded by new temptation. Her workplace is a candy store of drugs and forbidden love.
Divorcing her husband would have been messy, and everyone would have eventually known she was leaving her husband for another man. By killing him, she could assume the role of the tortured, grieving widow.
Kristin Rossum is a glamorous 26-year-old who appears to have it all. A successful career and a doting husband. But forbidden love has turned her life into a lie.
Michael Robertson was Kristin Rossum's boss and lover, a charming, good-looking guy that entered into a relationship with this young woman that became serious.
Kristin and Michael were carrying on their affair in emails, in cards, and in letters.
Have a good night.
And they could also be seen just looking at each other adoringly. So people in the office knew that they were having this affair.
Hey, honey. Happy birthday.
Husband Greg is at a loss. The love of his life seems to be slipping away. He discovers she's back on drugs. When he finds a letter from her lover,
Hey, what are you doing?
What is this?
all her secrets are out in the open.
That's private. Give it back. Give it back to me. That is none of your business. All
Who
right?
gave that to you?
Kristin felt that the world was caving in upon her
Let it go.
and that Greg was getting ready to reveal her as an adulteress, as a methamphetamine addict. She was going to lose her job, she was going to lose her lover, she was going to lose everything that she'd worked so hard for. And she felt the only way out was to murder her husband.
She's a toxicologist with detailed knowledge of deadly drugs. Her weapon of choice is a substance called fentanyl.
Fentanyl has the same effect as heroin, except it doesn't have the euphoria associated with heroin. It's not normally picked up by routine opiate screens because of its chemical structure.
And Kristin's workplace is full of it.
There were tons of fentanyl missing from the cases that she worked on. There was also a fentanyl standard that was used for testing that was missing.
Shattered by his wife's affair, dulled by painkillers, Greg DeVillers is an easy target.
Here, drink this. I'll make you feel better. Drink it. All of it?
Soon, the deadly fentanyl is coursing through his body.
One of the big problems with fentanyl, like all narcotics, is that it causes profound respiratory depression. People stop breathing. Their heart continues to beat. There's a lack of oxygen. So fluid builds up in the lungs, and fluid builds up in the brain, and eventually they die.
So pathetic.
Inspired by the movie American Beauty, Kristin does some elaborate set dressing.
Do you remember this, Greg? Do you remember? Hey!
The crime scene indicates to me Kristin's flair for the dramatic in her life. Also a bit of arrogance, thinking that she could actually duplicate a famous scene from a very popular movie in her own husband's murder.
It looks like suicide. The medical examiner agrees.
Kristin had used fentanyl to kill Greg, knowing that her coworkers would investigate the cause of death, that they didn't test for fentanyl. Kristin knows that going in. That's why she chose fentanyl.
Kristin is free to start a new life with her lover. But one more test awaits.
Because Kristin was an employee of the medical examiner's office, they sent the toxicology tests out to private labs. And that's where they found the fentanyl.
It seemed like the suicide of a lovesick man. But the traces of fentanyl prove it's a murder.
Once Greg was under the effect of fentanyl, and a sufficient amount of it, Greg would no longer be able to act purposely. His respirations dropped because of the drug, which would mean that the amount of oxygen to the brain would also drop, and there could be no meaningful activity. He couldn't have spread rose petals. There's no way that he could have engineered all of that.
Had that crime scene not been so elaborate, and had Kristin not been going for the dramatic in that crime scene with her husband, she might not have drawn attention to herself.
Kristin Rossum is found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison.
Kristin had 3 relationships, one with her husband, one with her lover, Michael Robertson, and one with methamphetamine, and she chose methamphetamine over the other 2.
Illicit desire drove these deadly women into a world of murder. JR's schoolgirl fantasy spawned a night of terror. Kristin Rossum was torn between 2 passions, men and methamphetamine. And Sheree Miller turned internet fantasy into a lethal reality. Consumed by lies, deceit, and death, they sacrificed everything on the altar of forbidden love.